The transport ship shook as it passed through the station's shield. Yuna grabbed the seat handle and looked at the boy sitting next to her. Do-Yen was smiling. He always smiled, even when things were hard. "We made it," he said. His eyes were bright with hope. "Can you believe it? We're actually here." Yuna looked out the small window. The Galactic Coalition Military Academy floated in space like a metal city. Thousands of lights blinked on its surface. Ships moved around it like small fish around a whale. It was the most famous military school in the known universe. And they were about to walk inside. She did not smile. She watched. The transport landed with a soft sound. The doors opened. Cold air rushed in. It smelled strange, like chemicals and something sweet that Yuna could not name. She stood up and grabbed her bag. "Ready?" Do-Yen asked. "Always," she said. They walked out together. The docking bay was huge. Hundreds of beings from different planets stood in groups. Yuna saw creatures with 4 arms, creatures with no arms at all, creatures that floated, creatures that crawled. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had skin that changed color as they moved, and all of them were staring at the 2 humans. Yuna felt their eyes. She heard their whispers. The translator chip in her ear turned their words into sounds she could understand. "Deathworlders, look at them. So small, I heard they eat flesh. Dangerous. Very dangerous." Do-Yen's smile became smaller, but he kept it on his face. He walked with his head high. Yuna walked beside him, her face showing nothing. A tall creature with blue skin and 3 eyes approached them. It wore a uniform with many symbols on it. "Human cadets," it said. Its voice was flat, like it was reading from a paper. "Follow me. Orientation begins in 1 hour. You will receive your room assignments and your restrictions." "Restrictions?" Do-Yen asked. The creature looked at him like he was a child asking a stupid question. "Terrans have special rules. Your biology is unusual. You will learn them soon." It turned and walked away. They followed. The hallways of the academy were wide and clean. Everything was white and silver. Screens on the walls showed information in dozens of languages. Other cadets moved past them, always keeping distance. Always watching, Yuna noticed that some of them touched weapons when the humans walked by. Small gestures. Quick looks at exits. Fear. They were afraid. On Earth, Yuna had been told this would happen. Humans came from what the galaxy called a Class 7 Deathworld. Earth had high gravity that crushed weaker species. It had weather that could kill in minutes. It had animals that hunted and ate other animals. It had diseases that evolved faster than medicine. It had everything trying to kill everything else all the time. Humans were not supposed to exist, but they did. They survived. They kept surviving. And that made them terrifying to species who had never known real danger. The orientation room. It's a large circle with seats rising up like stairs. Yuna and Do-Yen sat in the back. Other cadets filled the room, but no one sat near them. There was an empty space around them like an invisible wall. An instructor walked to the center. He was a Corvani, a species that looked like tall lizards with 4 arms. His scales were dark green, and his eyes were yellow with black lines through them. He wore a black uniform covered in medals. "I am Instructor Velith," he said. His voice was cold and sharp. "I will be responsible for combat training this year. You are here because you've passed your planet's tests. That means nothing. Here, you start from 0. Here, you prove yourself or you fail." His eyes moved across the room and stopped on Yuna and Do-Yen. "Some of you come from difficult worlds. You may think this makes you special. It does not. This academy has rules. Follow them or leave. We do not make exceptions for anyone." He kept staring at them as he spoke. The message was clear. After orientation, they were sent to their rooms. The academy gave them a small space with 2 beds, 2 desks, and 1 window looking out at the stars. The beds were too short for human bodies, but Yuna did not complain. She never complained. Do-Yen sat on his bed and let out a long breath. "Well, that was fun. He hates us," Yuna said. She was standing at the window, looking at nothing, Velith. Maybe Maybe he's just strict with everyone. Yuna turned to look at him. His eyes never left us. He wanted us to know. Doyen was quiet for a moment, then he smiled again. So we show him he's wrong. We work harder than everyone else. We follow every rule. We make them see that humans belong here too. You really believe that? I have to, he said. What's the other choice? Give up? Go home? We worked too hard to get here, Yuna. We can't let them push us out before we even start. There was a knock at the door. Yuna opened it. A man stood outside. He was human, older than them by a few years. His uniform had more marks on it, showing he had been here longer. His name tag said Taeon. You cadets, he said. He walked in without waiting for permission and looked around the room. First generation from the Busan Training Center? Yes, Doyan said. How did you know? I know every human who comes through this station. There aren't many of us. He sat down on a chair and looked at them both. His face was serious. Let me guess. Velith already made you feel unwelcome. The other cadets keep their distance. You're wondering if you made a mistake coming here. Neither of them answered. That was answer enough. Taeon nodded. Listen to me carefully. I've been here 2 years. I've seen things. The Corvani instructors, especially Velith, they don't want us here. They think humans are animals. They think we're too dangerous, too primitive, too violent. They look at us and see monsters pretending to be civilized. That's not fair, Doyen said. Fair doesn't exist here. Taeon leaned forward. Next week, there's a joint combat training exercise. All cadets participate. Mixed species squads. They'll test your fighting, your teamwork, your survival skills. He paused. They'll also try to break you, break us, Yuna asked. Her voice was quiet but hard. They separate humans into different squads, put us with cadets who hate us, give us broken equipment, bad positions, impossible tasks. They want us to fail. They want us to fight back so they can punish us. They want reasons to send us home. Doyen's smile was gone now. What do we do? You survive, Taeyon said. You don't give them what they want. You take every hit and keep standing. That's how we win. Not by fighting them. By being too stubborn to break, stood up and walked to the door. Before leaving, he looked back at Yuna. Something passed between them. An understanding. Watch each other, he said. That's the only real rule. On Earth, we learn to survive alone. Here, we survive together. Don't forget that. Yuna stood at the window again. Outside, a ship passed by. Its lights blinked red and white against the darkness. Somewhere on this station, Instructor Velith was planning something. She could feel it. Do-Yeon came and stood beside her. It'll be okay, he said. We've been through worse. She looked at him. Her oldest friend. The boy who always smiled even when the world was falling apart. The boy who believed in fairness and kindness and hope. She would not let them break him. Yes, she said. We have. But she did not say what she was thinking. She did not tell him about the cold feeling growing in her chest. The feeling that said something bad was coming. Something she could not stop. She only looked at the stars and waited. The morning of the joint. Combat training exercise came with a cold announcement over the speakers. All cadets were to report to Combat Simulation Zone Delta. No exceptions. No delays. Yuna dressed quickly. Her uniform felt stiff and unfamiliar. Beside her, Do-Yoon was checking his gear, making sure everything worked. He looked nervous but excited. This was what they had trained for. This was their chance to prove themselves. They walked together through the metal hallways. Other cadets moved in the same direction, a river of different species flowing toward the training grounds. Yuna noticed how the others still avoided them, how they whispered when the humans passed. Some things had not changed in a week. The training zone was massive. It was built to look like a destroyed city with broken buildings, dark tunnels, and hidden dangers everywhere. Smoke machines filled the air with gray fog. Red lights blinked in distant corners. Sounds of fake gunfire echoed from speakers to create stress. Instructor Velith stood at the entrance with other officers. He held a datapad and called out names and squad assignments. Cadets moved to their groups as they were called. Squad 7, Velith announced. Cadet Yuna, Cadet Myril, Cadet Bandu, Cadet Zess. Anna looked at her assigned squad mates. A small, furry creature. A tall being with too many legs. Another one that looked like living water in a container suit. None of them looked happy to have a human in their group. She waited for Doyan's name. Squad 12, Velith continued. Cadet Doyon, Cadet Rix, Cadet Vorn, Cadet Kellic. Yuna's blood went cold. Rix, she knew that name. Everyone knew that name. He was Velith's nephew. A Corvani cadet famous for his hatred of humans. He had been at the academy for 3 years and had never hidden his feelings about Deathworlders. He called them animals in the hallways. He said they should be caged, not trained, and now Doyan was in his squad. Yuna stepped forward. Instructor Velith, the Corvani's yellow eyes turned to her. Speak. I request a squad change. Cadet Doyan should be moved to a different group. Silence fell over the area. Cadets stopped moving. Everyone watched. Velith's mouth curved in something that might have been a smile. And why is that, Cadet? Cadet Rix has made threats against humans. Putting them together is dangerous. Dangerous. Velith took a step closer to her. He was tall. He looked down at her like she was an insect. This is combat training. It is supposed to be dangerous. Are you saying that humans cannot handle danger? I'm saying that some dangers are not part of the training. Velith's smile disappeared. Your request is denied. This is the military. You do not choose your squad. You do not question orders. You follow them. He leaned closer. Or do Deathworlders not understand simple rules? Yuna felt her hands curl into fists. Her heart beat faster. Every part of her wanted to speak, to fight, to protect her friend. But she remembered Taeon's words. Don't give them what they want. She stepped back. Understood, instructor? Velith made a sound of satisfaction. Good. All squads enter the training zone. The exercise begins now. Doyan passed by her as he walked to his group. He touched her arm briefly. I'll be fine, he whispered. Don't worry. But she saw his eyes. She saw the fear he was hiding behind his smile. He knew what was coming. She watched him walk toward Rix and the others. Rix was grinning. A predator's grin. The other members of Squad 12, a Corvani, and some other species, Yuna didn't recognize, stood behind Rix like followers. The horn sounded. The exercise began. Yuna's squad moved into the fake city. Their mission was to reach a target point while fighting off simulated enemies. The other squad members ignored her. They gave her the worst positions. They walked ahead without checking if she followed. She didn't care. Her mind was on Doyon. She tried to reach him through the communication device in her helmet. Doyon, can you hear me? Nothing. Just silence. She tried again. Doyon, respond. A voice came through. Not Doyon's. Communication with other squads is blocked during the exercise. Focus on your mission, Cadet. It was an automated system. Eunice's chest felt tight. She kept moving, kept fighting the simulated enemies, kept doing what she was supposed to do. But part of her was somewhere else. Part of her was with her friend. Hours passed. The exercise continued. Yuna's squad completed their mission without problems. She was faster than them, stronger than them, more accurate than them. They noticed. They didn't thank her, but they stopped ignoring her. Then the emergency signal came. Red lights everywhere. Alarms screaming. All cadets were ordered to stop immediately. Medical emergency in Sector 9, the speakers announced. All squads clear the area. Medical teams incoming. Yuna ran. She didn't wait for her squad. She didn't follow the paths she was supposed to follow. She moved through the fake city like wind through leaves. Jumping over walls, sliding under barriers, running faster than she had ever run before, she reached Sector 9. And she saw him. Doyon was on the ground. His armor was cracked open. Blood was everywhere. So much blood. Red and bright against the gray floor. His chest moved in small, painful motions. He was trying to breathe, but something was broken inside him. Medical officers were already there, putting him on a floating stretcher. His face was pale. His eyes were closed. Yuna pushed through the crowd. Hands tried to stop her. Voices told her to stay back. She didn't hear them. She couldn't hear anything except the sound of Doyen's broken breathing. She reached the stretcher. She grabbed his hand. It was cold. "Doyen," she said. Her voice cracked. "Doyen, look at me." He didn't open his eyes. He couldn't. But his fingers moved against her palm. Just a little. Just enough to say he knew she was there. The medical officers pulled the stretcher away. Yuna let go. She stood in the middle of the sector, surrounded by cadets and officers and broken pieces of armor. Then she saw Rix. He was standing with his squad, watching. His arms were crossed over his chest, and he was smiling. The same Predator's grin from before. Beside him, Instructor Velith stepped forward. He looked at the blood on the ground, at the stretcher, disappearing around a corner, at Yuna standing alone. "A dead Doyen." "Sustained injuries due to his own incompetence," he announced. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. He failed to follow safety protocols. He put himself in danger. "No disciplinary action will be taken against other squad members." Yuna heard the words. She understood what they meant. Rix had done this. Rix had hurt Doyen, and nothing would happen to him. Nothing at all. Rix walked past her. He stopped, just for a moment, close enough that only she could hear him. "Your friend should have stayed on your dirty planet," he whispered. "Humans don't belong here." Maybe now he'll understand. He walked away. Yuna did not move. She did not speak. She did not cry. She stood there, looking at the blood on the floor, feeling something cold and heavy growing inside her chest. Taeyeon found her later. He tried to talk to her, to comfort her, to explain that this had happened before, that it would happen again. They had to be smart about this. She didn't answer. She walked back to her room. She sat on her bed. She looked at the empty bed across from her. Doyen's things were still there. His clothes, his books, his small picture of home. Outside the window, the stars burned in the darkness, cold and far away, uncaring. Why you and I sat in the silence for a long time? When she finally moved, her face had changed. Something was gone from her eyes. Something soft. Something that believed in fairness in its place was something else. Something that Earth had taught her long ago. Something that the galaxy was about to learn. The medical bay was white and quiet. Machines made soft sounds as they worked. Tubes carried medicine into Doyen's body. Screens showed numbers that Yuna did not fully understand, but watched anyway. 3 days. She had been sitting in this chair for 3 days. The doctors had explained his injuries. His ribs were shattered. His lung had collapsed. There was bleeding inside that they had stopped, but could not fully fix. For any other species in the galaxy, such wounds would have been instant death. But humans were different. Humans were hard to kill. Doyen was in a deep sleep. A healing sleep that the doctors had put him in. His face was still pale, but the machine said his body was fighting. Slowly, painfully, but fighting. Yuna held his hand. She had not left the room except to use the bathroom. She had not eaten. She had barely slept. The doctors told her to take care of herself. She ignored them. Taeyeon came on the 3rd day. He brought food and water and forced her to take them. "You need to eat," he said. "You can't help him if you're dead." She ate. Not because she wanted to, but because he was right. Taeyeon sat beside her and looked at Doyen's sleeping face. "I talked to some cadets. Quietly, they told me what happened." Yuna said nothing. She already knew. Rix and his squad sent Doyen into every dangerous area. They told him the wrong paths. They left him without cover. When the simulated enemies attacked, they didn't help him. Taeyeon's voice was heavy with anger. And when he was down, when he was defenseless, Rix shot him. Point blank. With a training weapon that had been set way above safe levels. "It's an accident," Yuna said. Her voice was flat. "That's what they called it. That's what Velith called it." He deleted the recording from that sector. The evidence is gone. I tried to file a report. It was rejected before it even reached anyone important. Of course, Taeyeon turned to look at her. His eyes were worried. What are you thinking? Yuna didn't answer immediately. She looked at Doyen. At the tubes in his arms. At the bandages around his chest. At the boy who always smiled, who always believed in good things, who only wanted to make the galaxy see that humans could be kind. There's a challenge protocol, she said quietly. Any cadet can challenge another to formal combat. Tion's face went pale. Yuna, no. The rules say if someone refuses the challenge, they are expelled from the academy. Removed in disgrace. The rules also say the combat is real. No safety limits. People have died in those challenges. Taeyeon grabbed her shoulder. Rix is a Corvani warrior. His family has trained fighters for generations. He has 4 arms. He's bigger than you, stronger than you, and he's been learning combat since he could walk. I know, you'll lose. You might die. Yuna finally looked at him. Her eyes were calm. It's calm. Like still water over deep darkness. On Earth, she said, children learn to survive before they learn to speak. We learn what lives and what dies. We learn that the world wants to kill us, and we have to kill it back. She stood up, letting go of Doyeon's hand gently. Rix is trained to fight. I have trained to survive. Those are not the same thing. She walked to the door. No. What about Dojan? Taeyeon asked. What happens to him if you die? Yuna stopped. For a moment, her calm face cracked. Pain showed through, but only for a moment. If I do nothing, they win. They hurt him, and nothing happens. They learn that humans can be broken without cost. They will do it again. To him, to others, to every human who comes after us. She looked back at Taeyeon. I'm not fighting for revenge. I'm fighting so that the next time someone wants to hurt one of us, they remember what happened. She left in her room. Yuna began to train, not the academy training that all cadets did. This was something different. Something older. Something that humans kept hidden from the galaxy because it scared them. On Earth, there were no safe spaces. There were no protective walls. There were animals that hunted in the night. There were storms that destroyed cities. There were diseases that appeared from nowhere and killed millions. Humans survived this, not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they never stopped. They adapted. They endured. They broke their own limits again and again and again. Yuna ran in her small room, back and forth, until her lungs burned and her legs screamed for rest. Then she kept running. She practiced fighting forms in the darkness. Strikes and blocks and throws. Not the clean techniques the academy taught. The dirty techniques that Earth taught. How to hit where it hurts most. How to break joints. How to keep fighting when your body was failing. She pushed herself past every limit she knew. And then she pushed further. Her body screamed. She ignored it. On Earth, pain was just information. It told you that you were still alive. The days passed. Yuna trained during every free hour. She ate protein and slept in short bursts and trained again. Her muscles grew harder. Her reflexes grew faster. Her mind grew quieter. She visited Dojen every day. He was still asleep, still healing, still fighting his own battle. She sat beside him and told him what she was planning. I filed the challenge today, she said on the 5th day. Rix has 24 hours to accept or refuse. If he refuses, he's expelled. But he won't refuse. His pride won't let him. He wants to prove that humans are weak. He wants to finish what he started. Doyeon's hand moved slightly. His fingers twitched. Maybe he heard her. Maybe he was dreaming. Yuna held his hand anyway. I know you would tell me not to do this, she whispered. You would say that violence doesn't solve anything, that we should be better than them, that revenge only creates more pain. She smiled, but it was a sad smile. You're probably right. You usually are. She kissed his forehead gently. But I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this so that no one ever hurts you again. so that every alien in this station learns what it costs to touch someone I love." She stood up. "Sleep well, Doyen. When you wake up, it will be over." One way or another, she walked out. Tyann was waiting in the hallway. Rix accepted. "The combat is tomorrow. The whole academy is talking about it." "Good, Yuna." Tyann's voice was serious. "I found something. The evidence that Velith deleted. I have a friend in the tech department. He recovered part of it. It shows everything. What Rix did? What really happened?" Yuna stopped. She looked at him. "If you survive tomorrow, we can use it. We can bring Rix and Velith to a tribunal. We can get justice. If I survive." Tyann nodded slowly. If Yuna thought for a moment, then she did something she had not done in days. She smiled. A real smile.
"Hold on to that evidence,"
she said. "I'll see you after the fight." She walked away. That night, she did not train. She sat by her window and looked at the stars. She thought about Earth, about Busan, about the ocean that she used to watch with Dojan when they were children, about the dreams they had shared, about the future they had planned. She thought about fear. She had been afraid many times in her life, afraid of storms, afraid of sickness, afraid of failing. But sitting there, looking at the cold stars, she felt no fear. There was only calm. Tomorrow, she would step into an arena against a creature bigger and stronger than her. Tomorrow, she might die, but she had made her choice. She would stand for her friend. She would show the galaxy what it meant to hurt someone from Earth. Whatever came next, she was ready. She closed her eyes and slept without dreams. The central combat arena was built to hold thousands. Today, every seat was filled. Cadets from every species in the galaxy sat in rows that rose high toward the ceiling. Their eyes all pointed to the same place, the circular fighting pit in the center. It was made of hard metal, surrounded by energy shields to protect the audience. No rules except one: fight until someone surrenders or cannot continue. Yuna stood at the entrance gate looking at the crowd. The sound was incredible. Thousands of beings, talking, shouting, making noises she didn't have names for. She heard words in dozens of languages. Her translator picked up some of them. "The human is crazy. This will be quick. Rix will destroy her. Be 30 seconds before she falls." She did not care what they said. She breathed slowly, in and out, letting her heart find its steady rhythm. Her body was calm. Her mind was empty. She had done everything she could to prepare. Now there was only the fight. The gate on the opposite side opened. Rix walked out. He was massive, nearly 2 meters tall, with 4 powerful arms and scales that looked like dark armor. He wore traditional Corvani fighting clothes, light fabric that allowed movement, metal guards on his forearms and shins. In his forehands he carried 4 curved blades, each one designed for a different kind of killing. The crowd cheered when they saw him. He was a star here, a warrior from a warrior family. He had won many fights before. He had never lost. Rix walked to the center of the arena and looked at Yuna's gate. His yellow eyes found her in the shadows. He smiled. Yuna stepped forward. She wore standard academy training clothes. No armor, no special protection, no weapons. Just her body. The crowd grew quiet. Then the whispers started again. Where are her weapons? She's unarmed. Is this a joke? Yuna walked to the center of the arena. She stopped 3 meters from Rix. They looked at each other. Rix laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. I thought Deathworlders were supposed to be smart. Coming here without weapons? Do you want to die that badly? I don't need weapons, Yuna said. Her voice was quiet but clear. It carried through the silent arena. Such confidence. Rix raised his 4 blades. They caught the light and shone like silver fire. Let me show you how wrong you are. I'll try to make it quick. Consider it mercy for a lesser creature. An announcer's voice filled the arena. The challenge has been accepted by both parties. This combat will follow traditional rules. No interference. No surrender limits. The fight ends when one party surrenders or is unable to continue. A pause. Begin. Rix moved. He was fast. For arms striking at once, blades coming from every direction. It was a technique that had ended dozens of fights in seconds. No one could block for attacks at the same time. No one could dodge in every direction at once. No one except a human. Yuna did not try to block. She did not try to dodge backward. She moved forward into the attack. On Earth, humans learned a simple truth. If you cannot avoid danger, you go through it. You find the smallest gap, and you take it. You accept pain as the price of survival. Yuna slipped between the blades like water through fingers. One cut her arm. Another scratched her leg. But she was inside Rix's reach now, too close for his long weapons to work properly. She struck. Her fist hit his throat. Her knee drove into his stomach. Her elbow cracked against his face. 3 hits in less than a second, each one aimed at places that hurt the most. Rix stumbled backward, shocked. He had never been hit so fast. He had never fought anything that moved the way this small human moved. The crowd went silent. Yuna stepped back and waited. Blood dripped from the cut on her arm. She ignored it. Lucky Rix growled. His eyes were angry now. The smile was gone. That won't happen again. He attacked more carefully this time. Using all 4 arms in patterns, creating walls of blades that seemed impossible to pass. He was skilled. He had trained since childhood. Every movement was perfect. Yuna found the imperfections anyway. She had spent her life looking for ways to survive. She saw things that others missed. The tiny delay when Rix's upper left arm moved. The slight opening when he shifted his weight. The moment between attacks when his guard dropped just a little. She took every opening. She paid for each one with cuts and bruises and pain. But she kept moving. Minutes passed. Rix landed hits that would have killed a weaker creature. A blade sliced her shoulder deep. Another cut her face, missing her eye by centimeters. A heavy blow to her chest cracked something inside her. She did not stop. The crowd started to change. The whispers became different. She's still standing. How is she still standing? What is she? Yuna's training uniform was red with blood now. Much of it was her own. Her body screamed with pain from 100 small wounds and several large ones. Her ribs were broken. Her arm was barely working. Normal beings would have fallen long ago. But humans were not normal beings. On Earth, humans chased animals until the animals died from exhaustion. They survived wounds that killed other predators. They kept moving when their bodies said to stop. They did this not because they were the strongest, but because they simply refused to end. Rix was breathing hard now. His 4 arms were slowing down. He had never fought this long. He had never met something that absorbed so much damage and kept coming. For the first time in his life, he felt fear. Yuna saw it in his eyes. That moment of doubt, that crack in his confidence. She attacked, not with techniques, not with strategy. She attacked like a human attacked, with everything she had left. She grabbed one of his arms and twisted. The joint broke with a sound like cracking wood. Rix screamed. She didn't let go. She pulled him toward her and drove her forehead into his face. Scales cracked. Blood flew. He swung at her with his other arms. One blade went into her leg. She felt it hit bone. She ignored it. She grabbed another arm and broke it too. 2 arms down. Rix fell to his knees. His blades dropped from his broken hands. Yuna stood over him. She was barely standing herself. Her leg was ruined. Her chest was full of broken bones. Her face was covered in blood that wasn't hers, and blood that was. But she was standing. Surrender, she said. Her voice was calm even now. Rix looked up at her. His eyes were wild with pain and fear and something else. Confusion. He didn't understand. How could this small creature defeat him? How could a human break a Corvani warrior? What are you? He whispered. I'm from Earth, Yuna said. We learned to survive when survival was impossible. We learned to fight when fighting was hopeless. We learned to stand when standing cost us everything. She leaned closer, and we never, ever stop. She waited. The arena was completely silent. Thousands of beings watched, not breathing, not moving. Rix lowered his head. "I surrender." The words echoed through the arena. For a long moment, nothing happened. No one knew how to react. A human had beaten a Corvani warrior. A small girl from a Deathworld had broken a champion. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Then more. Yuna didn't hear them. Her body had reached its limit. The world tilted sideways. She felt herself falling. She saw the ceiling of the arena high above, covered in lights that looked like stars. She thought of Doyen. She hoped he would be proud. Then everything went black. Medical officers rushed into the arena. They surrounded the fallen human, talking rapidly, preparing treatments that most of them had never needed to use. Humans were hard to kill, but this one had pushed herself beyond anything they had seen in the stands. Tyon watched with tears in his eyes. Beside him, cadets from a dozen species sat in shocked silence, trying to understand what they had just seen. On the arena floor, covered in blood and surrounded by chaos, Yuna lay still. Her heart beat weakly but steadily. Her body, broken and battered, had already begun to heal, because that was what humans did. They survived. Yuna woke to the sound of machines. Soft beeping, the hum of medical equipment, the smell of clean air and healing chemicals. She opened her eyes slowly. The ceiling was white. The walls were white. Everything was white and bright, and her head hurt badly. She tried to move and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through her body from a dozen different places. Her ribs, her leg, her shoulder, her face. Everything hurt. "Don't move." The voice was familiar. Yuna turned her head. Just a little, just enough to see. Doyon was sitting beside her bed. He was awake. He was alive. Bandages still covered parts of his chest, and he looked thinner than before, but his eyes were open and clear. And he was crying. "You idiot," he said. Tears ran down his face. "You absolute idiot," Yuna tried to speak. Her throat was dry and rough. She managed a small sound that might have been a laugh. "You're awake," she whispered. "I woke up yesterday. They told me what you did." His voice broke. "They told me you fought Rix, that you almost died, that you nearly killed yourself for he couldn't finish." He just shook his head. Yuna reached out with her good hand. Her fingers found his and held them. "You're my friend," she said simply. "We carry each other." Doyen held her hand tightly. He was still crying, but something changed in his face. The sadness mixed with something else. Something like pride. Something like love. They stayed like that for a long time. It's two broken humans holding hands in a white room far from home. Later, Taeyun came. He brought news. "Phileth has been removed from his position," he said. He was smiling, something Yuna had never seen him do before. "The evidence I recovered was presented to the Academy Council. It showed everything. How Rix's squad sabotaged Doyon's equipment. How they isolated him. How Rix deliberately shot him with an overcharged weapon. The council had no choice but to act." "What happens to Rix?" Doyen asked. "Military tribunal. His family tried to protect him, but there are too many witnesses now. Too many people talking." What Yuna did in the arena made everyone pay attention. They started asking questions. They found answers they didn't like. Yuna listened without expression. She had not fought for punishment. She had not fought for justice. She had fought so that people would see. And they had seen. "There's more," Taeyeon continued. "The Academy issued a formal apology to all Terran cadets. The first time that's ever happened. They're reviewing their policies on mixed species training. They're investigating other instructors who might share Velif's views. You changed things, Yuna, not just for you and Doyen. For all of us." Yuna looked at the ceiling. She thought about the fight, about the pain, about how close she had come to dying. Was it worth it? She looked at Doyen sitting beside her, alive and healing. She looked at Taeyeon, smiling for the first time. She thought about all the human cadets who would come after them, who might face a little less hatred because of what happened here. Yes, it was worth it. The days passed slowly in the medical bay. Yuna healed faster than the doctors expected. Humans always healed faster than expected. Their bodies were built for damage and recovery, shaped by millions of years on a world that tried constantly to kill them. Other cadets started visiting. At first, just one or two, nervously looking at the human who had defeated a Corvani champion. They brought small gifts, food, books, messages of support. They didn't stay long. They didn't know what to say, but they came. Then more came. Species that had never spoken to humans before. Cadets who had crossed hallways to avoid the Deathworlders. They came and stood awkwardly by her bed and tried to express something they didn't have words for: respect, wonder, a new understanding. One small furry cadet from Yuna's training squad came and apologized for ignoring her during the exercise. "I was afraid of you," she admitted. "We all were. We heard stories about Deathworlders. That you were violent, dangerous, that you couldn't control yourselves. And now?" Yuna asked. The cadet thought for a moment. "Now I think you are dangerous. But not the way I thought. You're dangerous because you care. Because you protect your friends. Because you don't stop." She looked at Yuna with new eyes. "I think that's a good kind of dangerous." After she left, Doyan laughed softly. "She's not wrong, you know." "You are terrifying," Yuna smiled. A real smile, the first one in a long time. Someone has to be. When Yuna was finally able to walk again, she and Do-Yeon went to the academy courtyard. It was a large, open space with plants from 100 different worlds and a view of the stars. Through a massive, transparent dome, they walked slowly. Both of them were still healing, but they walked together, supporting each other when needed. Other cadets were there too. Some of them nodded as the humans passed. Small gestures of acknowledgement. Small signs that things were changing. They found a bench and sat down. The stars spread out above them like scattered diamonds on black cloth. Somewhere out there was Earth. Was home. Was the ocean in Busan, where they used to sit as children and dream of the future? "Do you think it'll get easier?" Do-Yeon asked. "Being here. Being human in a galaxy that fears us," Yuna considered the question. She thought about Velith and Rix and all the others who hated what they didn't understand. She thought about the long road ahead, the challenges that would come, the battles not yet fought. "No," she said honestly. "I don't think it'll get easier. There will always be people who fear us, who hate us, who want to prove that we don't belong." Do-Yeon sighed. "That's what I thought." But Yuna continued, "That's okay." She looked at him and smiled. "We're from Earth. We don't need easy. We just need each other." Yan stared at her for a moment. Then he laughed. A real laugh, bright and warm. The kind she hadn't heard since before all this started. "You're right," he said. "We've survived worse than prejudice. We've survived our own planet. How hard can the rest of the galaxy be?" They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere in the Academy's administrative offices, a report was being written. It would be sent to the Galactic Coalition High Command, read by generals and admirals and politicians. Across 100 worlds, the report contained many things: details of the incident, analysis of the fight, recommendations for policy changes. But at the end, there was a single note added by the Academy commander herself. Recommend upgrading Earth's classification from Class 7. Deathworld to Class 8. Their physical capabilities are more extreme than previously documented. Their psychological resilience exceeds all projections. Their loyalty to each other appears absolute. And then, one final line: do not provoke the humans. Especially not the small ones. In the courtyard, Yuna and Do-Yeon knew nothing of this report. They just sat under alien stars, two children from a deadly world, healing from wounds that would have killed anyone else. They had come to this academy to prove that humans belonged among the stars. They had faced hatred and violence and nearly lost everything. But they were still here. Still standing, still together, and that was the lesson they had taught the galaxy.